Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome into Bridgestone Arena. Welcome all of our Blue Raider friends here and invite you to take a seat. We'll get our program underway here in just a couple of minutes. Invite all of those who are going to be in our program to come on up. And while the first others are coming up, we'll introduce you to a couple of guys right here who are really good friends of mine and good friends of our university. To my right here, I hired this guy to do PA at baseball and volleyball back in what year? About 1994 or 5, somewhere right in there? 1999, and he is now on SiriusXM, Channel 84, and with Rick Neuheisel every morning, so 8 to 11 Central Time. Please welcome Chris Childers, Blue Raider grad. Also, I know that many of you have been part of this voting process, but for the 25th year in a row, this man has been named the media darling of Nashville. Nashville's media darling. That's copyrighted, I think. So please welcome my radio partner during Blue Raider football season, Big Joe Dubin. And from our athletic staff, start with the boss, Director of Athletics, Chris Massaro is here. Man who just celebrated his 20th anniversary on campus, Coach Rick Insell. On the far end, about to begin his 8th season at the helm of the Blue Raider men's basketball team, Coach Nick McDevitt. And the man who had them fired up yesterday at the Gateway is Coach Derek Mason. So we've got a couple of mics, guys, and just kind of pass along. Glad to have everybody here. Our media members here that are here today, thank you all for coming out tonight, and including some of our in-house folks, including Joe Fisher, who was the voice of the Lady Raiders last year. Thanks for coming across town today. Dwayne Hickey is back here with us tonight. He lives here. Chase McCabe, who is our contact with 102.5 The Game, and he keeps Joe out of jail normally on a weekly basis. But again, glad to have you all here. One of the things kind of talk about, and I'll get Chris and Joe to kind of jump in, about obviously college athletics and where we are is in a different world than where we were here a couple of years ago. Chris this morning talked a lot about on his radio show about Group of 5 football in particular and where it goes, because they are football heavy on their radio show. And being an alum of a G5 school, you guys, I think you kind of taken that as part of what you carry with you to kind of help and promote G5 football, and what a great group, what a great bit of football that it really is.
It is, and it's something that needs to be protected at all costs. I mean, I think that's what's scary about what we're seeing right now with the SEC getting as big as it is and the Big Ten getting as big as it is. Think of the opportunities, and just, Derek's program, or Nick's program, or Rick's program, the amount of student athletes that have come through over the years that have gotten a college education, that have gotten a degree, that have been able to go and be competitive in the workforce because of the opportunity they got through a scholarship at Middle Tennessee State. Now, I know we're in this world now of NIL and having to pay players, and these guys are not immune to that at all. But it wasn't long ago when the scholarship meant so much, and we have to protect it for those that aren't, LeBron James, and those that aren't making the Cooper Flags, making all the NILs, because these are life-changing opportunities. So if we get to a point where programs like this one have to close the door, then we've completely missed the point of the mission. And that's why it's important for us in the media to yell about it and to talk about it, because we can't, I get money's important and money controls the conversation, but we can't sacrifice the whole purpose of why we're here, which is opportunity for young people.
And those opportunities still are here. Joe, you talk about it every day from a local level.
I mean, in the last 4 or 5 months, we're talking NIL, and it makes you go crazy, And so I want to talk football. I want to talk basketball. I mean, when Coach Insell, when they go to play LSU last year, I talked so much smack on Twitter that day when you're headed halftime. I loved it. I loved that. When the basketball team's doing well and everything, football team. So the fact that we get to talk tonight about athletics on the court, on the field stuff is fantastic for me. I think a lot of this NIL talk gets people bogged down. Like, oh, God, here we go again. You know, this is that want money and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I want to talk on the field stuff. I want to talk what's happening, ball games and things like that. So the opportunity to do that tonight in the state of the program, I mean, it's fantastic. And real quick, my son is going to be a freshman at MTSU. So we went, and I told Chris this other day, we went to freshman orientation last week. And that campus, and I've talked to Chase about this too, is wonderful. I know you see it every day. I mean, you see things every day, and it's like, oh, okay. But to see that campus from the eyes of my son and about 300 other freshmen, it's a beautiful campus. It's an absolutely beautiful campus. Why people do not want to come there blows my mind. Go there. It's got everything you need. It helped me get me where I am right now. It's a wonderful campus, and to see it from the eyes of my son was great. So I'm in love with this university, far beyond calling football games with you and being an alumnus. I just love the campus. I love the people. I love everybody up here. It's a wonderful place to be in. And it's going to be like that for a while because of the people Chris has hired and the people that are around there. And you know this well, Chip. I mean, there's some wonderful people on that campus.
Derek, Joe said we're talking about football tonight. Is the time you get to go out on the field, and whether it's practice or game days, is that like an oasis for you to not have to deal with the other issues that are going on, and you get back to what got you into this anyway, and that's coaching ball?
Yeah, it is an oasis. Just getting back to the game at its purest and being able to touch the field. But I tell you what, it's even in the facility. When I get a chance to sit down and talk with Nick, okay, or Coach Insell, we laugh. We talk about, I mean, because we all have the same issues. So, like, for us to be able to confront those issues together and understand that we're all fighting the same fight. We all get in there, you know, with Chris, and we talk about, man, where we're sitting and where we need to go with our programs. And I think the collective, energy, not just of these three, but really what's happening in the athletic department. I mean, I don't feel like I'm by myself. I don't feel like I'm on an island. I feel like I can talk to these dudes. These dudes sort of, give me some energy and help me understand that I'm still grateful to coach this game. You know, everybody wants to talk about all this other stuff, but the ball itself and the responsibility of taking care of other people's children, that's why we do what we do.
Yep, absolutely. And as of today, 67 days away from kickoff against Austin Peay.
That's right.
Looking forward to that.
Right.
You're going to have 62 new faces on your football team. Are y'all going to run out of tape to put over the top of the helmets to put the names on there?
We're putting it on the back of the cleats. We'll put it on the back of the cleats, back of the shoulder pad. Okay, we have it everywhere, so we'll be able to figure out. Oh, yeah. Like, we talk about this. We go by nickname. You can't remember everybody, so it's like 2 left feet, okay, one eye, hot sauce. We got nicknames for guys, right? And then you figure out what their real name is when they start to do work, but it's fun.
Yeah, and some of them, whether good or bad, they earn those nicknames,
they
right?
Do. Good or bad. Good or bad.
Yesterday, when we had our first one of these in Murfreesboro yesterday, you talked about how the football part is the football part, and now with the changing landscape, one of the biggest challenges you have is team chemistry.
Right.
And you said you met with your guys when they came in that first week of June. Only showed them one thing on the screen,
right?
And that was what?
Well, I mean, the conference championship trophy.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It only goes to one person. Okay, the prize is the prize, right? But there's a long journey to get there. And so I told them that's the first and only time I'll show you this. The next time you'll see it, you'll be hoisting it. Okay, and I meant that. You know, you have to put things, okay, in front of our student athletes and help them understand, okay, what the journey's going to look like. Everybody wants it. Okay, man, there's 12, 13 teams vying for this deal, right? So the biggest thing is, okay, how are we going to get there? What is a Blue Raider? Okay, how do we manifest that? What does a Blue Raider do every day to get there? And that's exactly, okay, what we're doing right now. We're trying to win days. If you can win days, you put yourself in the conversation, so that's what we got to do.
Since Nick is down there, hand him the mic. And when you got into, you were a player and a coach at UNC Asheville, and you got here, and when you got into coaching, you had kids 4 and 5 years. That's not necessarily the case these days. From a tactical standpoint and game planning and putting in your offense and defense, knowing that you're going to have kids maybe a year, 2 years, you might get lucky and have some guy 4 years. Has it changed the way you coach the game and install things to try to do you throw as much at them, or do you just have to throw enough at them to get good real quick?
There's a lot to that. I don't think you can be as complicated on both sides of the ball with your offensive schemes and your defensive schemes as you used to. Perhaps put in as many plays as you used to, because you would have 10 guys that ran them the year before, and you got to teach 2 or 3 guys. And if you can't pick it up, you won't play. Well, now the majority are your new players. You know, we've got 15 players. We'll have 15. Right now we've got 14, or 8 of them are new. So 8 of them we're trying to teach them terminology. Forget where to go. Like, we're teaching them where to go, how to go, what we call this. So it takes longer to get, to where you want to get to. So I don't think you can get quite as complicated, but that doesn't mean that you're not coaching them and that the process that you're trying to go by and instill in them is still the same. It's just it's hard to get in the weeds, so to say, as quick as you used to could at this point in the season.
And Coach
But that's
Insell,
the other part too. Like,
right.
You could get a little more complicated. Like, now you have summer access. For you guys that don't know what summer access is, like, we're allowed 8 hours a week with our players right now. Well, when I played, there was like the first day of practice, and it's October the 15th. You couldn't do anything before October the 15th. Well, now we
was
we
Midnight Madness then.
That's right. That's why there was a Midnight Madness. This is the first day we can start practice, and they've got that on TV. Well, now we had a 1 hour practice this morning. We had 13 guys out there, they're all here. And so you can start to install it. It's just, it's a different way of doing it than you could 5, 10, 15 years ago.
And Coach Insell, from a roster management standpoint, as a head coach, I'll let him have this one. Is the recruiting of your own roster continually and then opening up new doors to find players that you've never gone through before? What has that been like for you as a veteran coach?
It's been different. We don't have a player back. We don't have a starter back. Let me put it like that. And so, but this is what coaching's all about for me. I'm 74 years old. I've been in this business 50 years. That's why I got in it. I love starting new teams. I thought about getting out last year, but then, Matt and Tom and Kim and Nina and Courtney, their energy is keeping me young. It's exciting, I'm telling you. It's going to be another great year. We feel like we got a great shot to win the conference again, and that's kind of what our goal is.
Good deal. By the way, if anything pops into your head, folks, and you want to ask a question, raise your hand. I'll come to you. Derek, talk a little bit about another phrase you talked about yesterday that caught my ear, and that is becoming a player-led team. And you said you're much farther down the road right now than you were a year ago at this time.
Well, yeah. I mean, in year 2, what you start to realize, or what everybody realizes, is that everything's not new. Okay, when we come into the building, guys know what time to be in the building. They know what the standard and the expectation is. And it's not coaches talking about it, it's players to players. And I think that's the important thing. The best teams that any of these coaches have ever coached have probably been player-led teams. We just fed them. Okay, we tossed the ball out and they got after it. Okay, and I think that's extremely important. That's where we are. I mean, it's not how good Nick Vattiato is. That's not the case here. It has to be the guys around Nick Vattiato stepping up and actually performing, okay, on demand. You got to be able to perform on demand, and that's what this game requires nowadays. As we saw in the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes, okay, man, he needed an offensive line. Nick needs an offensive line, so that's what we did. We went out and got an offensive line and got players to go around him so that it's not on his shoulders. It's on everybody's shoulders.
So I have a question. I know it's going to upset you, Joe, because you want to talk football and sports and all that. But for all three of you, honestly, because I was talking to Chris Massaro on our show last week and agreed with what he said, that you have to be, in middle nowadays in this new era of NIL, you got to almost embrace the fact that you come here and if things go well, you're going to move on somewhere else, right? There's still going to be these people that are here and people like me that are alums that like wins. So how do you balance that? How do you balance, and Coach McDevitt, I'll let you start. You mentioned all the turnover. You didn't wish that upon yourself. It's not like that's what you want. It's what you have to do. So how do you go about in a short amount of time finding the right character that you can bring in for a year that you believe is going to meet the expectation of a fan base?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is while you're evaluating, can this young man help us on the court? Is he going to fit into this community? Is he going to fit in to this campus? Can he fit in then to our locker room? We need some vocal leaders. Is this guy too quiet? Is this guy going to keep his nose clean off the court? You got to check the athletic boxes, or none of us are going to be recruiting you. But there's also some places where this young man, he's a good player, but I can't coach him. He may be in our league, and he may be tough to deal with, but I don't want to coach that guy. And that happens with in every sport. So I think it's who can you coach? Do they fit into your program? But also knowing, like, each year you should think, at least this is my opinion, you've got 0 guys on your roster. You've got 0 players on your roster when the season's over. And anyone that you're getting back is a bonus. It's starting next year's team. And so we had 6 guys that came back, but they have the ability to hit the portal, and you could really go to 0. They've got years of eligibility left, but that doesn't mean that they're coming back to you. And so your job is to try to coach them hard, but also love them hard so they understand this is a great place to be and they want to be back.
I guess, Derek, you can address it too, because we saw it with our program. There's a lot of guys that are SEC Big Ten that have come from Middle Tennessee. Right. So we've done a nice job of identifying talent and developing talent. But for you, when you got to reinvent all the time, how do you keep the mission of trying to win football games?
Well, looking at, and I'll give examples, right? We had a receiver who played extremely well, and he goes to Michigan State. Fine. We knew that could happen. Sort of planned for that, right? We had a young freshman punter who punched well, and he goes to LSU. And as soon as me and Chris talked about it, we understood exactly where we needed to go. When you have great players do great things, and I'll say Holden too. Holden put up great numbers. There's a lot of players out there that want those numbers. So it's not hard to recruit when you have a system that will allow players, to have numbers. Now what you got to get is the character piece, right? Because this thing comes down to when it's not going their way, how are they going to react? What happens to the locker room? And I think that's the biggest piece that you're solving. You're not solving the talent gap. You're solving the cultural piece and whether or not you can keep your culture intact. Because if you can, that's where the winning gets done.
Well, Chris has been here for a long time. You've been here since, was it 04? 05. So it's been a long time. It's been 20 years. When you were supporting, Kermit Davis had the success and beat Michigan State, and it was a big moment for the program. When you're supporting him, as opposed to supporting Nick McDevitt, how different is that job now, considering how the world has changed around those guys? Like, I remember talking to Kermit recently, and he said, it'd be really hard for me to keep a Giddy Potts and guys like that. So how do you go about supporting a Nick in a different way?
That's an interesting example, Chris, because let's turn the clock back. We beat Michigan State, so then you're worried about keeping your coach. And then you beat Minnesota the next year and you're worried about keeping your coach. So in some ways, my world hasn't changed that much. It's just expanded. So now you pull off those kind of wins, and do you keep your coach and do you keep your players? And those kind of things. So in a lot of ways, my world's only expanded. So it hasn't changed as maybe dramatically as the coaches. But you have those kind of runs of successes, and Reggie works for us now, and we have those conversations like, Reggie, would you completed your 4 years here. I don't know, boss. I got a lot of money out there, kind of thing. So, and you can't begrudge that, you know. And I think the world of Reggie Upshaw. So I want him to be successful, no matter what. And so that's the attitude we have to take. And just like I love Kermit Davis, I was so grateful that he stayed 2 years after he beat Michigan State, because we have an environment where Dr. McPhee does a great job on campus of supporting athletics and those kind of things. So you're able to maybe lengthen the stay, and you can't fight it off forever sometimes. So.
No, my story, like, you know, we talk NIL and all that stuff, but I got to talk about Coach Insell for a second. I'm very blessed to get to go talk to journalism groups around Middle Tennessee, and I always tell students and interns, when you go somewhere, ask a question. Go where you get experience, ask a question. So Coach remembers this. So this was 2006. They did y'all were going to play Maryland. Maryland was ranked number 1 in the country. So Coach Stock still does his thing, and then Chris or Mark Owens says, we got Coach Insell up. They're going to take on Maryland. And this is a moment I'll never forget, and I felt terrible about this. Well, nobody was getting up to ask Coach Insell a question. And I said, all right, I'll stand up. And I said, Coach, I said, you take on Maryland number 1. You're probably not going to win this game, but what lesson do you want to teach your team? You remember those cartoons when the smoke comes behind their ears? And he got that podium, and he just looked at me and gave me the up down. I mean, it was vicious. But you know what? I deserved it. After it was over with, he pulls me aside and says, I needed that question to be asked. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. He's like, I wanted my team to hear my answer about how we're not going to roll over. We're going to play. So thank you for that question. And I'm sorry I ripped you apart. I'm like, that's fine. And you almost won the damn game, right? Yeah.
With 4 minutes to go, we're up 5. Yeah. And probably should have won the game, but coaching took over. But anyway, then we go the next year to play Maryland there. And Darren ends up being the coach that night because Brenda is about to have the babies, the twins. And so the girl I taught at Shelbyville and coach, Ashley Newman, was playing for Maryland. And so Chelsea Lyman was going in for a layup, lays it up, it's in, should have been a free throw. And all of a sudden, their officials come from the far end and waved it off and called it a block, called it a charge. And I forever have hated Darren. You know, I've never let him forget that. Because we had him beat up there. But, you know, that's life in the fast lane.
Well, I think the thing was that you showed the passion. That's why I love you, because it's about winning, and we're going to win whatever it takes to win. And that was a question that you needed to be asked. I felt bad. I asked a question, but when I go talk to people, I give that sense that sometimes the questions you ask are going to elicit that response. But sometimes it's the greatest thing in the world. But you took time afterwards to come over and say, I needed that question to let my team know that we're not going to just roll over and get beat by them, and about won the game.
Joe, we're about 6. Oh, go right ahead.
Joe, I hope no one takes me wrong, but there's never been a game in my life that I didn't think I was going to win.
Love it.
You wanted to talk about football? What's the question you got for Coach about this football team and the makeup of it this year?
Well, you know, during last year, I know it was frustrating. I mean, but there was a lot of times. I mean, you were in the games. Right. I think the Ole Miss game was the only one that's kind of like, all right, we know what's happening here. Right. But you came up to me after a game at Jacksonville State, and you said, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Oh God, I'm fired." And I'm only 12 games into this job, and I love this job. And you said, "Hey, at the end of the year, you're gonna have to unlearn a lot of these names, you know, because you were focused on the season,
right.
But you got something, and right. You were like, we're gonna turn this around." And I just remember eye contact with me. You were like, we're turning this ship around, and soon. And I just loved hearing that because it's happening.
Well, and I'll fast forward. We got to the end of the season, and you work to be in the moment. You do the things that you're supposed to do. And that you work to do. But when that season was done, I was ready to put it to bed. You know, I sort of put it in the trash can, struck a match to it, and then move forward, because that's exactly what was required. We needed to infuse this football team with what we have now, and the talent was one thing, but I just talk about three things. You know, how physical, how tough, and intelligent, you know, are we going to be? And this football team, we were the most penalized team in Conference USA. Like, that's not acceptable, okay? And that's on me, right? And so you look at these things. I didn't go at the players. I went at us. I went at our staff. I talked to our staff about, okay, how do we turn this thing and get this thing exactly where we want it to go? And everybody was resolute. And here's the thing, right? I lost one coach. I've got guys on my staff who had NFL opportunities, and they stayed. That's tough. That's tough when when a guy has to make a decision for his family, but they think this thing is the right thing at the right time. And so, like, the energy in that is what makes me get up in the morning and say, okay, man, I got to give these dudes my best. They're giving me their best, and they want to be here. They see what this thing is. So I'm sitting here now, you know, removed, you know, 6, 7, 8 months, you know, from what just happened, and I'm like, whoo. Hey, man, we're in a totally different stratosphere right now. And the confidence to be able to play, because when you go through a season, confidence, you know, you look at it, my confidence never waned, but I saw a lot of confidence go up and down. And that's not the case right now.
Speaking of stories, hand Nick the mic. Tell the story of what happened, not this spring at the spring meetings, but last year with this guy.
All right, so he's at the spring meetings every year. They're in Destin, and every year it's your presidents, the athletic director, SWA, the football coach, and both basketball coaches, and your FAR. So there are times where we're in a ballroom similar size to this, and every school has all 7, 8, 9 people at their respective tables. Well, we're in there for 3 or 4 hours. So on one side is Derek, and on the other side is Rick, and we're just kind of, you know, listening to presentation after presentation. You know, well, there's one of the icebreakers was the conference office decided to write some things on a beach ball, and you knock it around the room, and when you caught it, whatever question was on your right hand where it caught, you had to read that question and give the answer. And it had been knocked around a couple times, and one of the questions on there was, what is your favorite pastime? And I leaned over to Rick and I said, I'll bet if that ball gets hit to you, you ain't got the guts to say whatever. Yeah, I said something else, and he said, "Well,
in the gut area."
Yeah, in the gut area." So he said, "Okay, I'll bet you." Well, no kidding. Like 2 hits later, after you say your answer, you just hit the beach ball and see where it goes. Rick catches it, and I'm thinking there is no way. So I look at the question, and it has nothing to do with that. And all of a sudden, Rick says, "What's your favorite pastime?" I said, "Oh boy." And his answer was beating Western Kentucky's ass. Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of oohs and ahs in that room after he said that, but it was funny. Yeah, there was not a beach ball knocked around this year for the icebreaker.
Coach Mason is going to be doing a live shot with Steve Lehman on for Channel 5 here in about 6 minutes. So want to get a few more questions in for
Let me say
Coach.
something real quick.
You go right ahead.
That we do at the booth about this good man right here, Chris Massaro. We love Chris. Chase and I had him on the show last week. Chris Massaro, during a football game, we've spotted him from the booth when he gets upset on the sidelines. Missouri last year or 2 years ago, which was a bad call. The Memphis game this past year, I mean, we spot you from the booth. It's like, where's Chris? Where is he on the sideline down there? You think these coaches are passionate. This man here is a delight to watch from the press box when Middle gets a call that doesn't go with them, and it's so much fun. And I got to think people see you, right? On TV, friends, and call you and like, what are you doing? I got to think that happens.
Yeah, and I'm not doing it to get on television. Right. But I'm honestly just trying to help these officials, and sometimes they need a little guidance. So I'm trying to, all my years of experience, just provide a little more guidance for these guys because they're out there working hard.
And the best thing, he comes up in the press box.
Thankful that it's him down there and not seeing.
Oh, I was just going to say that. She's awful and sitting next to her at basketball games because she'll come out and the referees will come out and she goes, I don't like any of them.
One quick story again, and we told us on the radio last week, when Middle was beating Miami 3 years ago down in the Orange Bowl, I was sitting behind Chris, and in the third quarter, Middle is kicking, excuse my language, kicking their ass. It's beautiful. And these two guys with slick back hair and suits come and sit on opposite sides of Chris. And I'm thinking, they're going to kill Chris. He's the athletic director. They're beating Miami. He's gone, and I'm going to witness this. And then it was the Hard Rock Casino president who picked this inopportune time to come talk to you during the middle of a game. I'm thinking, they're going to kill Chris, and he's going to end up in the Everglades, and we'll never see him again. It was just a weird time to come talk to you.
And they did look like typical casino guys. And so, that they came down, and we were talking at the time about doing some gambling advertising with them, and Learfield was trying to put together some packages in that. So that was what it was about. But they were great guys, but it was a little frightening at first.
Yeah, right. It was at the kind of a crazy time. Derek, before you have to go outside, we mentioned that the Student Athlete Performance Center will be opened July 30th. The ribbon cutting will be at 9 a.m. that morning. The Stephen and Denise Smith Student Athlete Performance Center, I might say. Talk about what the generosity of our fans that have been part of the Bill Blue program to get to this point, an 85,000 square foot building, $66 million. Is it a game changer for your program?
It's a game changer for all of our programs. Anything that benefits any of our student athletes is a win, but this is incredible. When you talk about the Smith Athletic Performance Center, we're talking about a place that's built on performance. When you look at it, recovery, that's where we are. Nutrition, that's where we are. Strength and conditioning and how we train. That's the crux of what we do now athletically, right? Because it's a year-round process. So to have a facility, that can accommodate the needs of the student athlete is incredible. And you know what? It's not just a facility. It's the best in Conference USA.
Yep. Well, and before you go, your team is going to have a different look to it.
Yeah.
You had to buy bigger uniforms, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. You recruited for size, no question about it. What excites you the most about the personnel you're going to put on the field this fall?
The length and speed of the personnel. We went out and, top to bottom. Coach Lowry's back there. His running back room is young, but talented. Fastest man in the state. 10.6, 100 meters. Right there at Riverdale. Right? You look at Jaquel Middlebrook, extremely talented. I just like the talent across the board. And Marion Walker from Michigan. I can go on and on about the talent that was brought in, but we're long. Long on the defensive side of the ball, long on the offensive side of the ball, and football is a game of inches. So when you start measuring and looking at how we're trying to affect those inches, that's what I'm excited about, because I think the physical measurements are going to match up with the football IQ.
Yep. Also, before still got a couple of minutes.
Yep.
Schedule. You've got a very, I think, one of the most attractive home schedules you've had since you've been here. Obviously, this is your second year, but
right.
Talk about the league. And you got two new members, Missouri State, Delaware,
right.
coming in. So it's a 12-team league this year. You don't play everybody,
right.
but they're going to be quality additions.
They're quality additions. Missouri State had success a year ago, and so they're making the jump. Delaware has always been a great program. Joe Flacco came out of Delaware. The Blue Hens have always been competitive in FCS, and so when you look at their facilities, they're primed for where we're going. But I want to say something to our fan base. This thing is about filling Floyd Stadium, right? Nothing else. Everybody, like when you talk about home games, you get 6 of them, in college football. And fans change the energy. When you're playing, in a filled stadium, and it starts, with Austin Peay. I don't care about the rest of them. Let's start with Austin Peay. You do that, everybody benefits. Okay, the atmosphere, the energy, okay, the economics, it's all there. So I'm going to challenge our fan base. Let's fill Floyd Stadium. That's the cry. That's what we're up to. That's where we're at, and I'm sure Chris agrees with me. Right now, the team's going to be the team. Okay, we're going to play ball, and it's going to look the way it needs to look. Let's fill Floyd Stadium.
I think that's a good way for Coach Mason to make his walk out to Channel 5. And if he gets done, he may be back here in just a moment, but a lot of you may or may not know, Chris Massaro is the newest member of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, which is a huge honor. So Chris, kind of talk about what that not only means to you, but also to the university and also to our conference.
Yeah, and I'm just thrilled. It's one of the professional honors of my lifetime. So to be part of what I consider one of the best sporting events in America, and to be a larger role in that. So I'm excited. I think it means a lot to me personally, but I also, for this group, it means a lot to Middle Tennessee as well. And just some inside information and how we can get better, how other people are doing it. You have more access. Our first meetings were in Chicago in June, and they gave us all 15 stats that the analytics, these are the 15 stats that are most important to driving winning. And so as a committee member, to pay attention to these stats and those kind of things. So I stuck it in my notebook and trotted down the hallway and gave it to Derek. Exactly. And we had that little discussion. So,
good move.
Like the CFPs paid a lot of money for that data. And to be able to so right there was like an immediate benefit. And it was interesting, like in Calvin's back there, but offensive stats were the most consistent, like what they call relative offense was number one, and it's really been number one or two the past 10 years. And what that is basically you have relative scoring and relative offense. So relative scoring is if you score 35 points against a team that normally gives up 14, that's a plus 21, and so that's a high mark. If you score 35 and they're used to giving up 42, your relative offense isn't that good. And so your relative scoring, and the relative offense is about yards. So if you gain 500 yards and they're giving up 600 yards, that's not as productive day as you thought it was. So just little things like that, Chip, that are going to open up doors for all of us, and then the prestige for the university to be part of that event as well.
Childers, you and Rick Neuheisel, in my opinion, and I know I'm biased because you're a friend of mine, I think you guys have as good a feel of the pulse of the national scene in college football as anybody. And if you don't believe it, just listen to them 8 to 11 or 8 to 9. Then you can listen to Joe at 9. So I just want to make sure I get all that correct. But talk a little bit, look into your crystal ball. And as we look forward, 2030 is going to be a major year in college football because you're going to have big time media deals come to an end. What do you foresee in the crystal ball for big-time college football, for the Powers? What do you see in the future potentially for the Group of Five?
Well, I hope that everybody comes to their senses. I mean, that's my biggest thing is you look at the travel. I mean, look at what we've done to schools on the West Coast. And, I mean, Penn State and Oregon are in the same conference. I was talking to Rick this morning, he's with CBS. He does the studio stuff. And they just signed a deal with the Pac-12. And he's hopeful that means something long-term. Like the current Pac-12 doesn't look much different than Conference USA, but long-term there's this wish that everybody kind of comes to their senses and realizes this is ridiculous, that the travel that we're asking, the demand on the student-athlete, all of that is not sustainable and ridiculous to be asking a young student to give this much of themselves. So I think that's kind of the dream and the hope. All of this happened because of money, and it happened because of, I don't know if it was ignorance or arrogance, but I'll never forget my friend Mark Walker, who's a former congressman from North Carolina.
It was arrogance.
Arrogance, yeah. And he was in his office one day in D.C., and the lawyers from the NCAA come running in, and because he was one of the first to try to come up with legislation for college sports and to make NIL real and live, and they were screaming in his office, "This will never happen. This was like 6 years ago, not long ago. This will never happen. How dare you?" And here we are. June 21st, 2021 was, in my opinion, the biggest day in college sports history, because that was the day of the Alston ruling, which essentially changed all of this, which is why people are begging Congress and all this stuff's going on. So I just hope, to me, this was network-driven, it was money-driven, and I just hope everybody comes back to their senses and that regionality comes back to college athletics.
Chris, in the short term, there's some smoke signals that within the next 10 days, there may be a few dominoes that could fall. The most rumored is that Texas State may leave the Sun Belt to go to the Pac, whatever it is today. And then the Sun Belt may be looking for a potential replacement. Do you think any of these dominoes are going to fall at all? Because it has to happen prior to July 1st, or it'll be another year from now.
Just to dovetail a little bit what Chris said, that the 2030 is really an important, because all these TV contracts are changing, and so to us, to MTSU, the next 5 years are really, really critical, and so we need to get behind the Blue Raiders and win and be relevant, and we've worked for that goal. We've built the building that we talked about, the Smith Performance Center. We've got $78 million from the state of Tennessee to help renovate Murphy Center. So that's going to be like $150 million into the two revenue sports that drive this thing. So we've got to be there in 2030. If there is that breakaway that people are talking about, that for the NFL, like where there's 40 of the top schools and they break away, fine. Let them go. As long as we have access into the college football playoff, and this is an important and as long as we're in that second cut, that's a pretty good place to be for MTSU. And we can be in there with the Georgia Techs or the Virginia Techs or the Wake Forest of the world or the people like that, and that's a good place for us to be. So really the next 5 years, Chip, and it really doesn't matter right now if you're in the Sun Belt or Conference USA or the American. Let's don't get distracted by the immediate. That's where we want to be in the 2030s.
That's one of the two things that have really struck me over the last 6 months. I've heard you say, don't get distracted now, but don't fear the future.
Yeah, and we've got some things. I mean, we're sitting right in Bridgestone Arena having an alumni function, and a lot of schools like us in the Group of Five do not have this, and don't have this kind of economic activity that Nashville generates. Chris and I talked on air and off air about let's lean more into the music business and figure out, with this whole morphing of entertainment and sports that we're seeing more and more, let's lean into that. We've got advantages, and some of our old mates in the Sun Belt, some of our old mates in Conference USA, they don't have that. They're more isolated than we are. So the most important thing about real estate is location, location, and location. And we have that. And we've got a great university. I'm so excited for our future. It's building. This place is growing. We should pop a champagne cork every time a new high school opens up. The recruits are moving in. This place is booming. And so in 2030 and those kind of things, we are positioned well. And I can't wait to watch it.
All right. Let me add this real quick.
Yeah.
He talks about all that's going on, but from the media standpoint, I know Corey knows this and Chase knows this. The accessibility of Coach McDevitt, Coach Insell, Coach Mason. A lot of schools you'll call up, hey, can we talk to the coach? Well, we'll see what we can do. You don't hear from him. We've had Coach McDevitt on at the last second, talk about basketball games, comes on, 2 segments. Coach Insell comes on, Coach Mason comes on. The likability of these coaches here, and we deal with, Chase and I deal with coaches all the time. The likability of Coach Mason, Coach Insell, and Coach McDevitt is off the chart. And I'm telling you, from a media standpoint, that makes us want to talk to these guys more and more and more because they're so accessible, they're so open. I know Chris deals with it too. They're wonderful. So the likability factor from the guys leading the programs is next level. So kudos to the coaches and for Chris for hiring these guys because they're good men who care about the program and about the university and about the student athletes, and they talk to us, and it's wonderful.
That's good. Joe's final word. Nick, final thought from you before we wrap it up? And then Coach Insell, and then we'll let Childers have the last word.
Well, it's just great that we're out here in the off season for us talking about Middle Tennessee and basketball. It's June and we're already talking ball. So, really appreciate all of you guys coming out here and taking the time out of your schedule to hear us talk about what we love to do. This is the fun stuff right here. Obviously, being on the court with our guys is the fun stuff. But this is a lot of fun here. And I will say this, I think our team's going to be fun to watch. We're going to have a really challenging schedule. I told the group yesterday, 2 of what should be next year's preseason top 5 teams will be on our schedule. So it's going to be a challenge in addition to a 20-game Conference USA schedule. But yeah. He said it sounds like a 25-30 win season. That'd be great. We'll be in line for an at-large bid if we get 25 or 30 wins with that schedule. But yeah, it's it will be a challenge. But we're up for it. This is a hard level to be good and be good every year. It really is. Last year our league was Conference USA. Was the 8th most difficult league in men's basketball in the country. And when you think about 31, 32 plus leagues, it's you're up there. And so it's a challenge, but one we're looking forward to. Again, really appreciate y'all coming tonight.
Coach Insell, you got another great schedule. Looks like you're going to have a fun team.
Well, first thing I want to say is something about Coach Mason. The pressure's on him. It's football season. It ain't on us right now. But last week he had a camp, and I've been around this thing 50 years, and I've watched people work their camps and do things, and we had camps, but one of my grandsons was in his camp, and I walked out there just to see what was going on. I've never seen a coaching staff or a head coach work as hard with those young men from around. I know one of them was from South Carolina. I think one other was from Louisiana, but most of them were from the state of Tennessee. And what they were putting, it fired me up that he was our football coach. And he wasn't sitting in his office hoping his coaches took care of it. He was out there taking care of it. That's what we got as a head football coach at Middle Tennessee. And he will, when he says he's going to turn it around, he's going to turn it around. We're going to fill the field. What's
Floyd Stadium.
Floyd Stadium, yeah. Look, 74 years old, you can't remember everything.
That's right. Just the important stuff.
And this year we've got Tennessee coming to Murphy Center. We've got Auburn coming to Murphy Center. We've got, who else, Matt? We've got Memphis coming to Murphy Center. Belmont coming to Murphy Center. Chris has got on.
Got a great fan trip to Destin.
Going to Sandestin the week before Thanksgiving. And right now, Destin touched base with Matt this week and said that it looks like all the rooms have been taken right now, but what's going on with our fan base already. And then we got down in Destin, we play Providence. Correct me now if I'm wrong, Mississippi State. Then we go to Wichita, play them. St. Louis to play them. Rice to play them.
Sounds like 25-30 wins.
Oh, yeah. Hell, it better be. I hung on, so hopefully I can get my 500. But I may be on there another 2 or 3 years, Matt.
All right,
thank everybody for coming.
Absolutely. Childers, thank you for coming out tonight. You and Joe, and Joe started off the final words. You get to get the last word.
I appreciate it. I just want to tell this guy how much pride he gives to me. And
by the way, he owns an Anastasia Boldreva jersey.
I wore it at homecoming, which was awesome, and I wear it all the time. It's like my cruise shirt that I wear when I'm on a cruise. But
I should have been wearing it.
You should have. I just take so much pride in being an alum of this school and this women's basketball program. I've told him personally and Matt personally, it's like my favorite thing in the world to be a fan of. And I think it's been such a great reflection of our university. I have people come up to me and ask me about Savannah Wheeler, what was it like to watch her? And it's just so cool to see what we've done. The program, what Matt's done with the international pipeline, I think it's incredible that we've had players from Spain and Moscow and stuff experiencing Murfreesboro. So thank you for that, and all the pride. I know it does. I know it does. 100%, and I've said it about Chris for years. You think about Middle Tennessee, and we're not Tennessee, we're not Alabama, we don't have the kind of money. But if you think about the last 20 years, and the fact that we had a football coach for as long as we did, we hired somebody from the SEC. Our coach that was with the basketball program was a decade and a half and replaced by somebody who was a bright star. He's been here 20 years. That doesn't happen at Middle Tennessee State. Places it happens here, but it doesn't happen elsewhere. And I think it's really special, and it is a testament to Middle, the leadership, Chris, Murfreesboro, and it's just really cool to be an alumnus.
The boss said he has the last word.
Okay.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I just wanted to say thank you to the two guys to my immediate left. And when you talk about our university and all of its tentacles and all of its products and all of its graduates, well, these are two of the best examples we could have. So Exhibit A, you guys are highly successful in your careers. You've never forgotten your love for MTSU. You support us, you cheer for us, you inspire us, all those kind of things. So thank you for taking time out, being here. It doesn't go unnoticed in the Murphy Center. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Being great grads.
Let's give our panel a great round of applause. And